How's it going, guys? How's it going? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for checking in. It's great to see you. Today, we're going to be breaking down the biggest mistakes that I see podcasters make across the board. And you can stop yourself from making these mistakes to really help your show get to that next level and bring the experience up a notch so that your listeners become true loyal fans that help grow your show organically. So let's get into it and let's break down exactly the mistakes that you guys need to avoid to make your show pop. Let's go. So the most popular video on my channel is my beginner's guide to podcasting video, and that's kind of more of like a getting started guide. So in this one, I'm actually going to break it down to the mistakes that I see people make while conducting their interviews or shaping the direction for their show. So this is going to have a ton of value for you. So I encourage you to stick around to the end because it might be one of these mistakes that you're making that could really help you. So let's go. The first mistake, it's kind of a throwaway mistake, but I'm going to put it in here anyways, and that's just simply not starting a podcast in general. The biggest reasons why I see that most people don't start a podcast, it's because they either think they're too late to the game, they think that they won't be good, or that they won't be able to grow it and make money from it. I'm going to dispel all three of those myths right here. The first, if you think you're too late to the game, that's absolutely false. Podcasting is continuing to grow every single day, and with that, new listeners are coming and finding podcasts. So that's not a reason to get discouraged. If anything, that's actually a positive thing. With all these new shows starting up and all these new people coming to the platform, that means the best are going to end up winning. So if you're willing to put in the time to continue to get your show to be better and an improved experience for your listeners, you're going to have the opportunity to grow and to a far larger scale because of those new listeners coming to the platform and looking for podcasts. The second thing is people thinking they're not good enough, which is absolute garbage. Obviously, you're not going to be great at something that you just start out, but you're going to have a lot of opportunity to grow. And the conversations that you have are going to make you a better conversationalist. And that is a transferable skill to anything that you do in life. So not only are you meeting and connecting with new people, you're improving your ability to conduct yourselves in a conversational manner, which is only going to help you in anything that you want to do in life, literally anything. It'll allow you to connect with people far easier at a far more deep level. And that is something that is an invaluable skill that can come from podcasting. So the third thing that I had mentioned was that people feel like they can't make money from it. That also is BS. You can make money from it. But what I would say is that don't get into it to try to make money. Okay, that's a mistake that I see people make, is if you get into it strictly for the money, it's difficult to get to that point. If that's your why, you likely won't get there. If you are really concerned about monetizing your podcast, I'm going to have a video coming out in about 2 or 3 weeks talking all about that topic. So be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss it. The next big mistake that I see a ton of podcasters make is being the exact same as another show or another podcaster. If that void has been filled, there's no need for you to be the exact same. And you may love a show, and that might be why you're starting your own podcast, but I encourage you not to be the exact same. That's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form. If that's already being supplied by someone, why would they listen to you, especially when you're not the name that's already attached to that kind of show? So while it's very difficult to create a completely new genre of podcast, I do encourage you to get creative and try to be similar to the shows that you love because it's obviously what you're going to be interested in, but try to find your own spin. A good rule of thumb to have is that make sure that when someone listens to your show, they know it's yours and not anyone else's. They know it's you and you alone, and that's why they're going to come back and listen to you. Let me give you an example. If you have had the same guest as someone else, it should be very easy to tell that it's your show. That's why the fans are going to be fans of you. That's why they're going to continue to come back, and that unique voice and tone that you're going to create for yourself is why the fans of your guests that are going to come listen to you are going to become fans of yours because of that uniqueness, what you bring to the podcasting platform. So don't try to be just like someone else that you love. Capture the elements that you do love, but put your own spin on it whenever possible to make it fresh, unique, and you. It's very imperative to be you. There's a saying that I love, and it's different is better than better. So focus on being you. If you're unique and you're different by being yourself, that is a huge plus and can go a very long way in helping you to establish a very powerful brand and a loyal fan base. So just try to be yourself, unique. Don't try to copy anyone. Third huge mistake that I see so often, and I was very guilty of this in the beginning, and that's not actually listening to what your guests are saying. And that may sound crazy, like something that would never actually happen, but let me break it down to you with some examples. Typically, when you have someone on your show and you know that they're going to be coming on your show, you do a bit of research on them and you set up some questions that you're going to use to conduct through the interview. A rookie interviewer or podcaster will stick so tightly to the script that after they ask that question, they instantly bring their attention to the next question on the list. That means they're no longer listening to the reply from the previous question, and instead they're just so fixated on moving to the next question. That's terrible because you're not actually listening to the person that you have on the show, and that's the whole reason why you're having the conversation. Plus, you're missing potential opportunities to dive far deeper into things that the guest will give you that could provide so much value for your audience. And that could be exactly the nugget that your audience takes away that then leaves them very, very grateful to you and your show, and that ultimately makes them a fan. So if you don't actually listen and engage yourself into each and every question, you're only doing yourself a disservice by not actually allowing the conversation to develop an organic flow and bring you to the right places to provide that right value. So I encourage you to listen to every person. And I know that sounds like obvious, but truly deeply listen. Go back to your kindergarten days when your teacher was said actively listening. That's what we want from you as a podcaster, so that you can make sure you're asking the right question and don't get fixated on jumping to the next question. If they give you something during their reply, try to dig deeper. Try to get more from that if you think it's going to provide lots of value for your audience and if you think it could really help enhance the conversation. If you're enjoying this video and finding value, please drop a like and drop a comment down below. The engagement really helps with the algorithm, and it's exactly what made my other videos super successful. So if you could do that for me, that'd be much, much appreciated. It would mean the world to me. So please drop a like, drop a comment, click subscribe. Thanks. The fourth huge mistake that I see is just simply podcasters having brutal audio quality. I'm not a huge techie. I'm not a huge audio nerd. I would never claim to be one, but there is a minimum quality standard that you need to provide for people to listen to your show. If it sounds like it's coming from a radio from the 50s, that is going to be a point where it doesn't matter what quality is coming out of that. Chances are people aren't going to have the stamina and the grit to get through that whole episode. So with that being said, quality doesn't have to be super expensive. This mic that I have right here, which I will link down below, is like $60 US, about 80 or 90 here in Canada. And this will get you just as much quality as you need. Tim Ferriss, one of the biggest podcasters on the planet, makes tons of money from his podcast, his show. Whenever he conducts an online interview, he uses this bad boy right here. So that goes to show you that quality doesn't have to be super expensive. Are there $600 mics that will sound better than this? Yes. But with that being said, if most of your interviews are going to be conducted online, the USB nature of it and the fact that it's being adjusted by so many different platforms, there's no need in spending all that money. And I know this from experience. I've interviewed somebody using a $600 mic, doing it online, and they didn't sound any better than me with this $60 mic right here. So understand that there is a minimum quality requirement, but who doesn't have $60? I'm very confident you could put together $60. If you don't, watch some other videos on my channel. I talk about different hustles that you can definitely put together $60. Maybe go flip a few things, make some money. This would be a great investment. Get the mic and then the pop filter, which will help to drown out some of the P's, the popping, and it'll make your show sound way better. So building off that audio issue, I see a lot of podcasters not require their guests to have a decent mic as well. So if you as the host are using a decent mic and then your guest is using the onboard mic from their laptop or something similar to that poor of quality, that contrast is going to be very difficult on the ear and a lot more work for you. So I would highly advise you to ask guests to at least use headphones that have a mic in them. That's gonna allow you to reduce a lot of reverb and have a higher quality product versus the onboard mic on their phone or their laptop. It's going to sound way better and give you a lot less work to do in post. Fifth huge mistake is having limiting beliefs. I think this is a detriment to a lot of people's success in everything, but very much so in podcasts. If you're going to have a show where you're going to bring on guests, don't limit yourself to who you think would be interested in coming on your show. I've had a lot of people on mine that I had no right to have on my show given my brand or my reach or my audience at the time. So don't have the limiting beliefs that someone won't come on the show. If there's someone that you want at all, I encourage you to try again to get them on the show. If you don't hear anything, that's fine. But if you don't ask, you can't receive the yes. And the one yes will allow you to take off that limiting belief from yourself, take you out of that box, and will open your mind up to the possibilities that are truly out there through the internet and podcasting in general. My first guest that I got back where I was like, there's no way this person's going to come on my show. I literally instantly was like, okay, now my world is now open and there's so many people I want to get on my show. And having that optimism will only attract more and more positive guests onto your show that will help you grow, allow you to network effectively, and just expand and make great relationships with people while providing valuable content to your listeners. So don't have any limiting beliefs when it comes to podcasting. The world is truly your oyster, and you can make it as big or speak to whoever you want as long as you're willing to put in the time and effort to be great at what you do and to never give up. That was super preachy, but it's true. Okay. So 6th mistake, and that is waiting until the end to plug your guests, whatever they're trying to plug at that time. Typically, if people are coming on your show, there's something that they're looking to promote. And by waiting to the end of it, which has typically become the norm in podcasting, you're limiting yourself and the guest a lot. Let me explain why you're limiting yourself by doing that. One, first of all, is people, if you look at your analytics, a lot of people are going to drop off before they get to the end. So all you're doing is limiting the amount of people that could hear the plug and actually follow through on the desired call to action. If far fewer people hear that call to action and don't perform it, that doesn't make you look as good. So if you put it in the middle or even earlier on when there's a lot more people listening and then more perform the call to action, that's going to make you look a lot better in the guest's eyes, and they're going to be far more likely to refer you to any of their friends or people within their network that you would want on their show. And then 2, it's affecting the guest, obviously, because less people are hearing the desired call to action that could perform it and bring value to the guest, as well as the person who could follow the person or buy their book, buy their course, whatever it may be, simply because they weren't made aware because they never actually heard it. So that big mistake is not plugging the desired plugs, call to actions, whatever, early enough in the show to maximize the exposure to the most amount of listeners possible. So do it earlier on rather than at the end because people drop off. 7th and final huge mistake that I see too many podcasters make, and that is getting into it for the money. They think that this is going to be how they're going to make their money, and they end up quitting. And it's definitely not easy. But I will say, I think it's the most valuable platform of them all. The opportunity to interact with different people, to network, to make true, meaning-lasting relationships is incredible and truly life-changing. But if you're strictly in here for the money, you will not have what it takes to last, and the money will never find you. Money typically follows passion and action, and if you're not going to have the passion, you're not going to be able to withstand the grueling process to continue with that action. So get into it for the love of it. If the money finds you, find that as a bonus, okay? Because if you strictly get into it with the fixation on this is how I'm gonna make money, I'm very confident you likely won't get there unless you already have a large audience or a means to funnel traffic either through paid traffic or through a very large social presence already. So keep that in mind when you're starting your show. Make sure it's a passion project. That's also gonna mean that you're gonna bring that passion to every conversation, and it's gonna be far more likely that you're gonna connect, have very deep, meaningful relationships and conversations, and that's gonna increase your network. You're gonna make a lot more friends, and the people listening are going to be able to sense that and take a lot more from the episode. So make sure it's a passion, and then typically the money will follow that passion. And again, as I mentioned earlier, if you are really concerned about monetizing your podcast, be sure to subscribe because I'll be dropping a video in the next few weeks all on that topic. So those are the 7 mistakes that I see far too many podcasters making, and I don't want you to make them because you could be dramatically limiting yourself and your future growth with your podcast. So I thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you think there's any major mistakes that I missed in the comment section down below. And again, drop the video a like if you found any value from it. It really, really helps me out, and it means the world to me. So thank you guys so much for watching. Keep killing it, keep crushing it, and I can't wait to talk to you guys soon. Have a good one. Peace.